Day by day, we are made more and more aware of the issue of waste, especially plastic waste. And it is the topic of today's discussion, and I have got the perfect person to converse with on this matter. Sebastian Sajoux is the CEO of Arqlite. Arqlite is a recycling technology company that develops a technology that is, first and foremost, low cost, to make it easily scalable. And second, it is also capable of recycling all types of plastic, and not every other company can do this. And this technology allows them to produce the first ever commodity in the construction field that is made out of garbage through their product called plastic gravel, which is essentially a high efficiency gravel for many applications like on concrete, drainage, and precast. It is very impressive the many awards and recognitions Arclight has gotten out of this initiative and their technology. This is just a few of their milestones. Echoing Green Fellow of 2016, Cemex Tax Winner of 2018, and recognitions from Argentina's Ministry of Production, Science, and Environment. Now, Arclight SPC is a special purpose corporation incorporated in the state of Washington, committing to reinvest more than 50% of its profit back to the business to keep innovating and developing new and more efficient solutions to solve the global problem of plastic pollution. That is exactly what Sebastian is going to share with us today about how his company is one solution to the world's plastic problem. Pleasure to have you, Sebastian.
Well, thank you for having me here, and thanks for the great introduction.
No, my pleasure. So let's get to what inspired you to build Arclight.
Well, it's like I've been all my life working on things related to communication and marketing and art, and I was always very related to people, right? Very very human activities. So at some point, when I wanted to look for a pivot in my career, I thought that um, working on environmental and sustainability activities could give us this double benefit of being capable of leading a profitable and sustainable business, but also having the power to give or generate a positive impact in the world. So I was also driven by institutions like B corporations, that kind of established those kind of concepts. So that's why uh, I started working on recycling. And once you start working on recycling and you start getting more and more aware, I studied environmental consultancy. And once you start getting more aware, is that you start to feel more connected to the problem, and also looking for it's a driver to look for more innovations and for more solutions.
I see. Now, can you tell us more about Arclight and the technology?
Well, Arclite, it's kind of built to generate large scale solutions to large scale environmental problems. So we decided to work specifically on plastics, which is one of the biggest environmental problems now. Not plastic by itself, but the what's happening with plastics after their use, right? After it's being discarded. So so the company Arclite will basically do is work on the development of new technologies that can partner with the construction industry, which is a huge industry, and it's capable of, let's say, absorbing or incorporating several amounts of products. So our basic concept is develop efficient products for the construction industry to be able, as you said before, process them uh, on a, let's say, low cost or efficient and competitive cost, so we can build those scalable solutions. So that's what we are currently doing. That's our first product. This is Arclite Gravel, and it's working very well, and it's very well is very good, not only because it's eco-friendly, but also because it's highly efficient, and that's what the construction industry is always looking for.
Right. So you mentioned earlier that this plastic gravel is just the beginning. So I'm assuming there will be more coming.
Yeah, exactly. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. Our technology differs or differentiates from other technologies because we can process mixed plastics, right? Because you know, plastics can only be recycled within the same stream, like number ones with number
Yeah.
ones, number two with number two, and so on. So we are capable of recycling everything mixed, and that's the main difference. Once you got that technology and you can dominate that, you can produce other different things. So this is just our very first product, but we do and we need to set our kind of goals and targets into a range and type of products. So what we are working is like always orienting ourselves to building and construction materials.
Yeah, on that though, I'm wondering why you chose to have a construction material as the first end product that you make. Is it because it is one of the largest untapped industries?
Well, yeah, the main reason is that they have the, let's say, the power to use millions of tons. Let's say when we refer to gravel, for example, gravel is a commodity and it's a base product for a lot of uses, which can be concrete mixes, can be fillers for drainage systems, fillers for filtering, for water remediation. So it's like massively used. So if we consider that about around 350 million tons of plastics are discarded every year, well, if we could take all those plastics and turn it into gravel, the construction industry would be able to absorb all that gravel and use it on these many applications. So that's kind of beginning with a theory of a real solution. Then of course, uh, then we still need to build enough recycling facilities as to process all those plastics. But I mean, that's a starting point. Then we can spread to other products. And also one other thing about the construction industry is that on one side it's pretty conservative because it's kind of old school, but they are, I think the society is pushing industry, the construction industry, as many of other industries, into becoming more sustainable. So they're also very open to new materials and new solutions as well.
No, I think it's smart though to sort of incorporate it inside concrete because the way I see it is that the job that you're doing right now is only cleaning up what's already out there, right? The crazy amount of plastic that cannot be destroyed. So if it is indestructible, might as well bury it. Is it a wrong way of looking at it?
Well, yeah, it's actually, if you think, when concrete companies or construction companies, they use a concrete mix, you have to mine a quarry to take out that gravel from the environment, transport it to
Hmm.
the city hundreds of miles just to bury it in a concrete slab.
Hmm.
Okay, so it's crazy. What we do is we take local waste, we turn it into this artificial gravel that can then be used as a substitute for mineral gravel, and it stays encapsulated inside concrete, like, and it's like really yeah, turning waste into a product, into value. It's a perfect circular economy,
Yeah, yeah,
circular
obviously.
solution.
Right. How much relevant, if you have to say, do you think Arqlite and its recycling technology are to social values of today?
Well, I don't know how much social values is that. Uh, that's a very big thing. But we try to contribute as much as possible. First of all, on our industrial role and recycling role, and also now working with big companies, mainly consumer brands, um, to help them mitigate their impact by working on carbon offsets or plastic offsets. So we are kind of taking away plastics from the environment, helping them recover those plastics. And usually these campaigns are associated to the participation of consumers. So that's the way we can kind of leave our more industrial and technical work and get connected to the society, to regular people, that on their everyday life they can start separating, knowing more about the products, knowing what a laminate is and why it can't be recycled, and by standard technology how they need to choose products which are more sustainable, and ultimately that they still have our solution as a new proposal and a new option for those plastics. So we think we want to always stay connected to people rather than they're only working on a B2B base to help. I think that's a way of scaling the solution, right? Not only on the industrial, but also on the awareness.
Yeah. No, the reason why I asked this is because Arqlite itself is already meeting 7 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, right? In the decent work and economic growth, industry innovation and infrastructure, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, and life on land. So it's already a great list that you help achieve. So kudos on that. And on top of it, you also think about touching both businesses and consumers as well. And on the consumers end, I think not a lot of people are aware of how alarming this issue is, yeah. Because all we've been hearing are just numbers and statistics like, oh, there's 8 billion tons of plastic that have been produced since the early 50s, but we never know how crazy amount that 8 billion tons of plastic is. So yeah, like I myself understand this issue has existed from years back, but only a few years ago that I learned that it is very dangerous that we might be inhaling plastic particles at this very second, and how lives, not just fish and birds, but other animals and humans as well, can die from eating and inhaling plastic. So I'm sure that you're more aware on the situation. So would you like to add on to how dangerous and how concerning this problem is?
Well, sure. So it's yeah, it's a big problem, certainly. Also, if we think that today is a big problem, but also if the projections that are showing that the use of plastic is gonna duplicate by 2050, that's gonna be double the problem. So on one side, you get these new technologies making newer plastics more recyclable or more environmentally friendly, but the growth in population, the growth of consumption is all already uh, needing for new packaging, low cost, and then you go back to the unrecyclable. So it's like one industry is pushing into more recyclables, and then society is pushing for what's more low cost and usually more complex to recycle. So you get this struggle all the time. and and yeah, and the main concerns are, of course, when those plastics reach the environment, could be on a dump, on a landfill, or what's even worse, on a water course, where the main issue is that due to the forces of nature, basically like erosion and UV light, those plastics are broken into smaller particles, usually known as microplastics, which is a very trendy word nowadays. Like everybody's very worried about microplastics, and they should, definitely. So what we are working on is, by diverting those plastics and turning them into a product, is that we are avoiding that erosion and those factors that are um, breaking down those plastics. So I think it's important to find solutions that can uh, yeah, somehow avoid those plastics reaching the environment. They can be different technologies, and of course it's great that there are a lot of new ideas on taking care of these plastics. So everything is pointing that way. But the best thing to do is to educate consumers and to provide resources to new projects that can work on these kind of solutions.
Yeah. And in my personal view, this problem is not like other types of problem where the burden is on the users. Like if we think of water consumption or electricity consumption, it is a lot on the users to sort of change their mindset, and only then major change will happen, right? But with plastic, I feel like a lot of it is in the producers. So like big corporations that manufacture the plastic themselves, because if there's no plastic out there, there's no one that produces plastic, then there will be no plastic laying around to use, right?
Yeah, totally, I agree. But if you go a little bit like a little bit back to see the full picture, companies, they're businesses, and they're only driven by what their customers say. So if you want the brands to make a change, we need us as customers demand. We need to demand that change. We need to ask them. We don't want to see these kind of plastics anymore there. So it's like it's circular, you know. It's like the companies are the ones that are gonna scale up what we as consumers are asking them, because they have usually consumer brands. They are multinationals, they're all around the world, they're owned by most of the brands are owned by the same companies. So once you produce this first change, it's going to be like a chain of new things moving that way. So that's kind of how I think we can be part of the change. And also, one thing to consider is that plastic, it's a great product itself, a great material. Like sometimes if you can compare, let's say, I don't know, you go to a supermarket and buy some ground coffee on a plastic pouch, that could be maybe a tenth of the impact of buying it on a glass bottle or a glass jar or on a can, even if it's on a can. The thing is, what happens because of plastic being so thin and reducing transportation costs and emissions. The thing is, what happens after? Okay, because you can say, okay, the cans and the tins and are easier to recycle after, because there's already a system there waiting for them. Now we need to build that system for plastics as well. So once it's discarded, it goes back to the beginning and can be recycled again.
Yeah, I so agree on that. You know, in the old days when people used to say that paper is better than plastic, no, it takes, I don't know how many gallons of water to produce a single sheet of paper, and that's so crazy to think about it. Because, yeah, maybe for paper it is better in the afterlife, but what about the amount of water you waste? That's pretty mind blowing. But so you're saying that it is important to design the whole system to make it a looping one, like in the circular economy model, right? For every material, the system has to loop.
Yeah, totally. And we don't have to. We need to keep in mind that everything we do generates an impact, right? Every time we consume, we buy, we purchase something, we go out to the street, it generates an impact. So it's about being conscious about the impact we're generating, being responsible, not only when we buy things, but also when we discard those things. And that's what's gonna that's circular economy, right? That's on our hands, and it falls on our side. So it's a team play. You need the government there being regulating the companies. You need the companies to start maybe turning into big corporations, and that kind of mindset, which is sometimes difficult for big companies with hundreds of years. So what these companies are doing now, for example, to compensate this, is partnering with startups, with startups working on sustainable products and services. So that's a way they are kind of compensating and getting a little bit more eco-friendly or sustainable, and with this different mindset. So it's all part of a change. Everything's going that way. The thing is that it's going slowly, or slower than the environment needs. So the good thing is that there's a lot of things to do, and for people like you and I, and the people that, of course, for sure is listening, there's a lot of space and to work on, and a lot of action that can be taken.
Cool. And it's awesome that Arqlite is sort of closing in the plastic life loop. So, what's next for Arqlite and how is it moving forward? Especially, you said that plastic gravel is just the beginning, right?
Yeah, so now we are, as I mentioned before, we are working in our facility in Argentina that's up and running, and we are bringing that technology to the US. We are installing our first large-scale facility in Santa Ana in California. It's going to be capable of processing up to 1,500 tons per month of materials, and we have already some agreements with local material recycling facilities, because what we do is we take the rejected plastics, the ones that they can't separate for selling or recycling, and they are currently sending to landfill. So we are partnering with these MRFs and also with private companies, consumer brands over here, to take their plastics and turn it into gravel. And on the construction side, we've got great partners like Cemex, for example, and other construction companies already waiting for the product. So our next step is to set up that over here. It's going to be up and running in a couple of months, and then hopefully use that model to start offering licenses to scale it globally, so we can take this solution to every big city around the world.
Yeah, and how old is Arclight exactly? I don't think I've mentioned it before when it was founded.
Well, I started in 2015, and I was part of an accelerator program called Fledge, which is
Mm.
located in Seattle, and that's how I got to know the U.S. West Coast, and also the kind of awareness that distinguished this area, on awareness, on sustainable awareness. So that's why I started there. Then I went back to Argentina to work on R&D for the past 4 years, and well, now I'm back in the area. I'm in California, pretty close to Seattle,
Mm.
and yeah, like everything started like 5 years ago with a homemade piece of gravel, and now we are building up a plant in the US. It's crazy.
That's so major. And it is very humbling to know where you started and look where you are right now. So it's really, really inspiring. And I hope it'll inspire other people as well. So thank you, Sebastian, for sharing.
No, my pleasure. Let me know if you have any other questions. I'll be happy to help.